Welcome back to Science Rocks. As we saw during the NSTA conference, there's a direct correlation between STEM and environmental stewardship. And there's no better place than to see it here at the TICO Manatee Viewing Center in Apollo Beach. The Big Bend Power Station in Apollo Beach has been a haven for manatee watching for decades. In 1986, people started seeing manatees in large numbers in the power station's discharge canal, where salt water, taken from Tampa Bay to cool the turbines, flows clean and warm back to the bay. When Tampa Bay reaches 68 degrees or cooler, the mammals seek out this refuge. The thermometers on each side of the 900-foot tidal walkway out to the bay tell the story. On the power plant side, the temperature is almost 80 degrees, while on the bay side, the temperature is below 70. Jamie Woodley is the senior environmental technician. For potential visitors, what should they expect when they come to the Manatee Viewing Center?
A lot of wildlife, a lot of fun, and a lot of nature. It's a free facility that teaches people about Florida wildlife. You'll see mangroves, you'll see birds, you'll see all kinds of fish. Our primary is manatees. They come into the canal for the warm water. So we are open November 1st through April 15th during the winter time.
And what connection does the TICO power plant have to the Manatee Viewing Center?
The Manatee Viewing Center is owned and operated by Tampa Electric, and the reason that we're here is because of the power plant. The power plant uses water from the bay to cool its system down to create power, and then we release the warm water on this side. And when manatees reach and get into water anywhere below 68 degrees and lower, they need to seek out warm water or they can become cold stress. So we're basically a winter spa for them. I don't know, about 15 years ago, we took this over from our Corp Comm department because they felt environmental could do more with it. And it's just expanded and gone crazy. It's great because you see visitors from all over the world. It teaches you all kinds of stuff. I mean, you get to see a manatee that's an endangered species. People have never seen them before, and the excitement in their voices and in their eyes, you know. It's good because you can teach the little ones from an early age that it's worth protecting.
And we walk through your environmental center here. Explain to us, what are some of the things and goals that you have for visitors?
Well, what it does is it has a lot of great photos and a lot of great information about the protection of manatees, what you can do to help them survive, what kind of things that they're fighting against to survive. We also have fun interactive games that will teach them about mangroves and birds. We also have a site on the facility that teaches them about the power plant and about our stewardship program and the things that we do to help protect the environment and work side by side with it. And this thing is, the Manatee Viewing Center is it's where technology meets nature. So,
and education is at the forefront of this center. Dave Townsend is one of the docents who help the visitors understand the balance between technology and nature.
You'll just notice how much heavier the manatee rib is. Guess what? That's the ballast that takes the about 65%.
What is your overall message that you want to communicate to visitors of the Manatee Viewing Center?
I think the overall message is that, you know, how does man interact with the natural environment? How can we negate effects that you know, the efforts of corporate sponsors and the communities and things like that can all come together to help preserve our environmental area. And really, I think the message for this viewing center is to educate people about manatees in specific and the environment in general.
Can you explain to us, what are some of the artifacts that you have?
Okay, what you're looking at is a display of bones that have been provided by the Florida Wildlife Commission. And these are actual bones. For example, this is a skeleton of a manatee. This is a jawbone of a manatee. This is the vertebrae of a manatee. These are the ribs. This is a manatee rib. This is a rib of a cow. Manatees and cows are about the same size, so it's used to talk about differences. And then these are the flippers. And basically what's done is that we talk about, you know, how the manatees are herbivores, how they replace their teeth, the weight difference between the bones. Let's say this is a rib, much heavier than with a manatee. In fact, hold them both together at the same time.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
Big difference.
Big difference.
And why that is, and then we show people, for example, if you move your elbow, your arm is about the length of a manatee flipper, but your bone structure is exactly the same in terms of an upper, two in the forearm, wrist, fingers, fingernails. And so there's so much in common because, you know, we're both mammals, warm-blooded, things like that. And so that's part of the educational process. And then people ask, you know, why do they come here? You're asking about a misconception. They come here for the warmth. There's not food out here in the discharge channel. You know, the food is out in the harbor, but they're here for the warmth. So we explain what there is about the manatee's life cycle, how they fit into the environment, and things that they do, because, you know, people are curious.
A little different. I'd heard about it. I'd seen some in a few of the aquariums and stuff, so it's kind of nice to see them out in their own habitat. Low tide makes it a little bit more difficult, I noticed, but it's an interesting thing.
I just like to come out here because it's so peaceful, and just being able to see the manatees, and usually you can see sharks and stuff like that. And he's leaving tomorrow, so we want to make sure the trip was special.
You can only get so close to manatees here at the observation deck, but 2 hours up the road, you can come face to face with manatees. Dave Cook shows us more.
Thanks, Laura. We're here at Crystal River, Florida, the largest concentration of manatees anywhere in the state of Florida. And today, we're going face to face with the gentle giant of the sea. There are dozens of businesses that rent canoes, kayaks, and offer snorkeling excursions all over Kings Bay and Crystal River to visitors hoping to have a close encounter with a manatee. This area has more than 40 natural springs that feed into the Gulf of Mexico, and it is a magnet for manatees in the winter months. Charles Slider is the owner of Manatee Tour and Dive.
Well, the thing about this area here, we have the largest population of manatees in any one area in Florida. So it's a great opportunity to be able to get in the water, see the animals in the wild, and with the captains that we have, they're very educated in the habitat and everything of the manatees, so kids learn a lot. We got a lot of school groups from all over the country that come out with us, and they're doing educational programs the whole time they're here. The biggest thing they can learn is respect for the wildlife, respect for the environment and other people. I mean, it's a great opportunity, especially with kids. It's a great opportunity that we do out here to be able to teach kids respect for animals, wildlife, and other people.
And with respect, there must be education. All snorkelers are required to watch a video that outlines the do's and don'ts regarding manatee encounters. The Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972 and the Endangered Species Act of 1973 make it illegal to harass, capture, or kill any marine mammal, which includes manatees.
Right now, the manatees, if they come to you, that's the key word, if they come up to you, you are still allowed to touch them. One hand only per person, but the animal has to make the contact. Everything's going to passive, just floating in the water, allowing the animals to swim around you and look at them in their natural habitat. The thing about being able to get in the water and swim with the manatees, you learn that respect right then and there, and that's the thing that's going to save the animal for future generations. You hate to see what goes on other places. People aren't informed. It doesn't matter how many celebrities you got and how many people that are pushing Save the Manatee. You don't really gain that respect till you're in the water and you see that animal face to face. Once you see that animal face to face, you want to preserve that animal. You want to make sure that animal's around for future generations to see and be able to see.
Looking forward to that face-to-face encounter, we're on our way to the springs. Our captain is Brian McCutcheon.
Just want to behave calmly in the water. We don't want to crowd any of these manatees. I instruct my groups to stay 6 feet away from any manatees, as we approach them, nice and easy. Stop 6 feet away and passively observe them. Now, that being said, these manatees have seen hundreds of thousands of people, and we're just another animal in their ecosystem. So often they come up, curious, and they come and seek an interaction with us. If they do, that's okay. I instruct my people just stay calm and let the manatee dictate the interaction. Oftentimes they'll come up and rub on people. They have a real tactile thing with their mandibles. Their mandibles are very sensitive, like an elephant's trunk. They'll use that much like a blind person might to feel things. Oftentimes they'll chew on my shirt or push me around in the water like they might, other floating jets and buoys, that sort of thing, the toys they're used to encountering in the wild. My passion is the water and the manatees themselves. I grew up around this area, around these animals. As a kid, I was swimming around them. More recently, I really started swimming with them. As a kid, they just shared our swimming holes, and they were more commonplace. See them all the time sort of situation. Didn't think much of them, but the more I started swimming with them and seeing them, they're really peaceful, graceful animals, and it's just a real spiritual thing to be in the water with them.
Entering the water with these gentle giants is exhilarating, and the abundance of marine life around the springs is amazing. The first sighting is a resting manatee near a residential dock. As we were instructed, we stay a safe distance away as not to disturb this amazing creature. We visit several other springs around Kings Bay, including the world-renowned Three Sisters, usually a haven for manatees. And while the 80-degree air temperature makes for a pleasant boat ride, the traffic is congested on the water, and especially in the water, and the manatees are hard to find, even in the sanctuary locations. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says the numbers of snorkelers and boaters has practically doubled, with as many as 100 people swimming or paddling into the springs in a single hour to be with the manatees. The service is considering restrictions in this area for kayakers, and on this day, I would say it would be a good idea. On the way back to the dock, we find that resting manatee again, this time having a late afternoon meal. But by that time of day, the visibility has been compromised and the usually crystal clear waters have turned murky. I'll be back to Crystal River again someday to try again for that face-to-face manatee encounter. But for your best chance to swim with the manatees, visit on a cold day and book an early morning excursion. Laura, back to you.
While it's not always a guarantee to be underwater and see manatees on a warm day, in contrast, a cold day here at the Manatee Viewing Center, you can observe over 100 manatees. Well, that's our show for today. I'm Laura Spence, and we'll see you next time.